Hello, folks. Welcome back to Just Another Black Conservative. And in this video, we're going to have fun. I have been waiting for this since I heard this debate was going to go down. It is Brian Shapiro versus Andrew Wilson. And they're going to debate, is it ethical to be a supporter of Trump? Now, Andrew Wilson has been on the internet debate circuit for some time. And actually, he's very skilled at debating. He usually breaks his opponent down pretty quickly, and then they get stumped, and then it turns into ad hominem attacks. So let's see if this turns out to be the typical Andrew Wilson versus whoever comes up against him debate.
With that, gentlemen, we're going to get into the opening statements. Is it ethical to support Donald Trump? Andrew will be arguing for the affirmative. So, Andrew, do you want to go first?
I can, sure.
Now, before we start this, I watched this earlier live, so I'm coming at you, giving my opinion after watching it live. Now, what's coming up right here, and this is very important in a debate for you to understand. What's coming up right here is Andrew Wilson obviously did his homework on Brian Shapiro. Brian Shapiro did not do his homework on Andrew Wilson, and it's going to become very apparent as you watch this.
First and foremost, since this debate is about the ethics, that's the key word, ethics of supporting the Trump presidency, and my opponent's job is to build a case that to support Trump's presidency, it is unethical. My job is to build one that it is. We both need to go into what our ethical standards are so we can build our arguments around our ethical framework. I fully expect my opponent, having reviewed his debate style many times, to revert to shotgunning talking points as though that matters to the ethical standards that he sets forward. To give my position, I'm a Christian ethicist, and I attack these views through that position. The first ethical standard I will uphold is life. While Trump may have many personal failings, and I don't dispute that he does, it's essentially trivial in regards to his governance of a nation. If it comes to the choice of 600,000 dead babies per year or Trump's personal moral failings, this debate should be over in the intro. Kamala Harris wanted to expand abortion and abortion rights. Trump put judges in place who overturned Roe versus Wade. I can't imagine from my worldview what else could be more important from the ethical side of the debate. Brian would need to make a case why I should have supported, out of the binary choice available to me, Kamala Harris, where I would be assured to have my ethical stance violated and a possibility of a loaded court where this right actually may have been enshrined. What could be more important than that to a Christian ethicist? I have no idea. Next, I don't believe Brian even has an ethical framework at all, except things he doesn't like. Brian harps on deportation a lot, for instance, and contradicts himself often due to being a hyperactive spurglord. The truth is, a people has every business, in my worldview, to determine who they want to enter their nation, the means of how they enter the nation, and also to determine the peoples they want removed from that nation if they're violating the law or violating the spirit of the law. Brian will also bring up the Epstein files and has claimed many times Trump is involved in a cover up due to the fact that he is in them. But this has never been established as a fact. And until it is, he's banking on speculation and not facts. Brian will also bring up things like Trump is a rapist, but his standard for evidence there is wild to say the least. Trump has never been convicted for any crime of raping anybody. Rather, he was found liable civilly, which isn't good evidence he committed a crime at all or did the act at all. Only that the burden of proof for civil liability is much lower. And in such a hostile and politically charged environment, we have good reason to doubt this case based on a lack of compelling evidence. There are many other talking points that Brian uses, and we can get to all of them in due course of the debate. But to start with, I would like to establish the ethical system he uses, as I have demonstrated mine, and can answer his questions about it so that then we can launch into the individual issues. Brian also has a lot to answer for himself due to his rampant dishonesty and outright lies or mischaracterization of Trump's positions or events surrounding him. This is why his audience often refers to him as Lion Brian. From a video called Brian Shapiro Fact Checks Trump, which you can find on Brian's channel, Brian says Trump says that his greatest strength is building ballrooms. The Trump quote, he then plays the video, and what he actually said is, I've built many ballrooms and many buildings, and that is my greatest strength. And then at 2:01, Brian misquotes him again after watching the video, which is the most insane part. At 3:05, Brian says that a reporter asked for Trump about extending subsidies for people to afford health care. And you can listen to Trump literally say he's not going to do that. And Brian still claims that he's going to. Trump quote from the video played, I like my plan best. I don't give money to the insurance companies. I give it to the people directly and let them buy their own health care. Reporter asks if subsidies will be extended. Trump's response is, I'd rather not extend them at all. It may be that some kind of extension is necessary to get something else done because the Unaffordable Care Act, referring to the ACA, has been a disaster. At the 5-minute mark, Brian says that Trump wants to cut off health care for 20 million Americans, which is fucking crazy too, right? He also claimed in that same video that I called a debate opponent that I was engaged in a debate with a whore, which is an outright lie. He just outright lied about that. I have no idea why either. And so what are the ethics there? I think he also needs to account for those things. In short, what's his ethical standard and how does Trump violate it? What am I doing incorrect from my ethical view by supporting Trump? This is what needs to be established. Not to mention, he also told a series of lies about what happened on Piers Morgan. He claimed that I was running away from him for a debate when I was having technical issues. And I have all of the receipts to demonstrate this for Brian today if he doesn't want to retract the statement, or he can just say, I was mistaken. And we can leave it at that. Floor is yours, Brian.
Okay, now you saw how Andrew broke it down succinctly and explained that his worldview or his ethical standards come from Christianity. He clearly states where his ethical views come from. Now, he tries to get Brian here to do the same. But let's watch how this plays out on how unprepared Brian is for this.
So 5 minutes on the clock, Brian. Also, apparently they can't hear Andrew on your stream. I don't know if Brian's frozen there or looks like he.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Unfortunately, my producer's trying to work on this, but the internet is going in and out, which is extremely difficult to have a debate with somebody when I can't hear everything that you're saying, Andrew. But I think we're good to go now. I did hear probably half of what you said. Let me start off with, because I think at the end there you brought up Piers Morgan. And can you guys hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, the two criticisms I brought up was the first.
Yeah.
Okay, this is about to be humiliating for Brian. Just watch this.
Thing you claimed that I called a woman a whore during a debate, which I did not do. That was a complete fabrication. And then the second thing was that you had brought up that I was running from you in a debate, which I was
so let me address that. So let me address that first. For those of you that are unaware, me and Andrew were on the Piers Morgan show last week. I guess Andrew had some technical difficulties at the time. What I did is I went on Twitter and what I thought was a funny joke. It didn't go very good for Andrew. I think he was, dodging me or something like that. And then I put a smiley face at the end. It was in good humor and I thought it was funny and I was laughing while I was tweeting it. And I didn't expect that the response to that would be somebody calling me retarded and getting so upset that you would put a paragraph in there and call me a libtard and all this other stuff. And then after you did that, I actually was laughing more because I couldn't believe how triggered you got.
Look at how he's trying to deflect this whole situation. Oh, I was just joking and you got offended. Ha ha ha. You're such, you couldn't handle me being a comedian about this whole situation. I was just kidding. Calm down. It's okay.
How upset you got over what I thought was an honest joke. And I was laughing about it. I have no idea what happened, whether you had technical issues, whatever. Okay, fine. I believe that. But I was making a joke about it, and I have a sense of humor, and I thought it was funny, and I thought it was a little strange that you got that upset and responded in the way you did, calling me a word that I don't usually use on or off the air, but calling me that was a little strange. So that's addressing that issue. I don't remember the tweet where you're saying that you called a woman a whore. I don't remember that. I would think I maybe was referring to the video of 2 weeks ago when a woman which is something, by the way, that I won't do. I'm not interested in talking about your family, and I'm sure you're not interested in talking about my family. But she had mentioned your wife, and I'm not going to get into that. And you know, that's a video that kind of went viral and exploded. I don't remember the exact terminology that I used in describing that.
You told a caller that I called her a whore, which was just not true.
A caller that called into my show?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that specific video, I don't think you used that terminology. Then it's quite possible if I did say that. I don't remember saying that. But if a caller called in, you know, I'm on the air 10 hours a week. Sometimes I would imagine I could mischaracterize things, but I do think that you were extremely triggered. I think even you would agree with that in that specific video. So you made a lot of judgments in about 5 or 6 minutes about me, about what I'm going to say. You brought up Kamala Harris, which to me has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about, which is Donald Trump. In this specific situation, his character, his flaws. Yeah, I am going to bring up the Epstein files, but I would ask you this question. Can you give me one logical reason why they have put Maxwell in a Club Med facility, allowed her a puppy, and have given her preferential treatment at the hands of the Donald Trump administration? Can you give me one logical explanation and reasoning behind they did that? Can you also explain to me
Hang on, one point at a time, Brian.
Okay, why would they do that?
So we're ceding the opening statement time. Let's just get straight into back and forth.
Okay.
Why would they do that, Andrew?
Yeah, so a good logical reason for this would be that they want to get more information out of her as to what's going on between these various cases. That could be one logical reason. Another reason, which is likely a good reason, is that she's going to cut a deal for names. That's another possible reason. So there are logical reasons why this is, but what you can't do, Brian, is you can't take an absence of evidence and then based on an absence of evidence, just fill in the blanks. That's not evidence at all. That's just speculation. Hang on, Brian. Hang on, Brian. Don't spurg out. Okay. Just let me finish.
Okay.
An absence of evidence does not make a case for you. You need to actually make an affirmative case for these things. But before we even get into that, can we start with what your ethical system is so that I understand the...
Okay, right here, Andrew does an expert move in debate tactics. He says, let's not talk about all this stuff right now. Let's figure out where your ethics comes from. Where is your ethical base? Where do you draw how you feel if something is good or bad, immoral or moral? Where do you draw your framework from? Now let's see if if Brian Shapiro can articulate his ethical view.
The viewpoint you're debating from.
Sure. And then maybe we can get back to that if that's okay.
That's fine with me, yeah.
So I believe the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, should set an example for everybody else. I believe if you're the president, you probably shouldn't be attacking POWs and Gold Star families and attacking women on looks. You shouldn't be calling journalists names, and you shouldn't be hurling out second-grade insults. I believe that the president is at a higher standard than you and me and every regular, everyday American.
That's not an
See, Brian gets away with this on his radio show. He can have people call in, and then when they start saying stuff to him, he does this rapid fire, these rapid fire attacks on Trump. But he's in a debate setting with Andrew and with a moderator. So he needs to pull back a little bit and tell us where his ethical view comes from. Because once he can do that, then Andrew can argue, and he can argue with Andrew on whether their stance on their ethical stance is solid.
Ethical system, Brian. Okay, that's just your opinion.
I'm giving you my opinion of what ethical standards are.
Yeah, do you have an ethical system, Brian?
Not taking advantage financially of your
these
position.
Are opinions, Brian.
No, it's not an opinion. No, it's not an opinion.
What's the ethical system, Brian?
My definition, which I am giving you, of being an ethical being. Okay, I'm sorry. What? Okay, I heard something in the background. I don't know what that was. My definition. You're asking me what my definition of what an ethical system is. What I am doing is I am giving you my definition of what I want ethically from the president of the United States. That's what
So
we're
your
here.
ethics are just whatever Brian thinks is ethical?
No, my ethics, I think, are what most of the population thinks are ethical, which is don't cheat on your wife, don't be, don't be a liable sexual abuser, don't steal money from your position of power, which is exactly what Donald Trump is doing. I think these are very standard things that most Americans.
But Brian, let me show you the problem. Let me show you the logical issue here. All you're giving me, you're just reiterating for me the things Brian thinks bad. I get that. Brian doesn't like these things. You're not actually giving me an ethical system from which you're making these judgments. So for me, I'm using Christian ethics. That's informing my ethical judgments.
Okay, well, that's your.
Hang on. That's how I'm able to come to these views. You have some kind of ethical system which allows you to come to these views. What is it?
I would say very basic stuff that you would read actually in the Bible. Don't steal.
See, he tries to, he doesn't understand how to argue or debate this way. So when he hears what Andrew says, he throws in, well, I get I get these from the basic ideas of the Bible. The Bible says don't cheat on your wife, don't steal, blah blah blah. And Andrew's like, well, I'll just let Andrew explain how it goes.
So the Bible is your ethical system?
Well, I'm doing it so hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from here. This is very basic stuff, and I'm shocked that
is the Bible your ethical system or isn't it?
I'm not a religious person, Andrew. You are.
What is your ethical system, Brian?
I'm telling you, it's very, very basic.
What?
And a lot of the stuff you would probably read in the Bible. Don't cheat. Don't steal. These are very basic things of anybody, let alone the president of the United States.
Brian, those are things you think bad. I'm asking for what makes them bad other than Brian thinks they're bad
too, right?
Yeah, you've already rejected biblical ethics and Christian ethics. You already said you don't believe those things. So Brian,
see right there is where Andrew gets him. You have admitted that you don't believe in Christian ethics. So why are you talking about the Bible? I want to know where Brian Shapiro gets his ethical morality, ethical position from. I need to know where you're arguing from is basically what Andrew's trying to get out of him.
And what does Brian use to make value assessment, ethical judgments? What is your ethical system?
So I didn't say that. There are some things in the Bible that I do believe. I didn't say that I disagree with everything that's
based on what though? Based on what? What is the ethical system you're using, bro? What is it?
I'm confused that here I am telling you, because this debate is not about my definition of what my ethics system is.
It's literally about ethics.
Hold on. It's about Donald Trump. Why you
see, this is what happens when you step into the arena with Andrew. Andrew sticks to the prompt. So when you sign up to debate him, you need to understand the prompt that you're going in at. And obviously, Brian Shapiro did not understand the prompt.
Support him, why I don't, where we disagree. We can talk about ethics. That's fine. I don't think Donald Trump has them. And you could say you disagree with me based on your religion. That's fine.
The debate's literally on ethics, Brian. It's
okay.
on the ethics of supporting the president of the United States. I need to know what your ethical system is. What is your ethical system?
And I'm giving it to you. Okay, and I'm giving you a basic standard of what I expect from somebody that would have basic ethics. That's the president of the United States, which is, as you interrupted me earlier, don't cheat, don't steal, don't lie. Those are the things that Donald Trump has done, and some of those things he continues to do every day. I can't spell it out.
Brian, what I'm asking isn't about what you think that Trump is doing that's bad. I understand you believe Trump is doing bad things. I understand that. My question is, what are you grounding these ethics in? What's the system you ground it in? So, for instance, I'm guessing you believe murder is bad, right?
Well, yeah, the system.
Yeah, okay, so there has to be, but you have a reason. You have a reason why you think murder is bad. Yeah. What is the reason for that? What is the reasons?
Well, you're talking about breaking the law. That's very different than some of the things that I'm referring to. We could also talk about breaking the law.
Even if murder was lawful, wouldn't you still be against it?
I'm against any innocent person being hurt in any way, shape, or form. That's
Yeah,
the way I
right.
was raised.
So there's an
The way I
ethical
was raised.
system here. What is the
So,
ethical system?
so if you want to really break it down to my ethical system,
Yeah.
which is a little bizarre, but we can go there.
Why
It's
is that
the-
bizarre? We're having a debate on the ethics of Donald Trump.
Right. And I want to give you specific examples of why I don't believe he's a very ethically sound person. I don't understand why you need a definition,
Because
but
you would have to compare why he's not an ethical person with
I
the
was
grounding,
raised
with the grounding belief of what is an ethical. So, for instance, if you say, Andrew, Jesus wouldn't like Donald Trump because A, B, C, and D.
sure.
Right? I'm deriving my ethical system from Christian ethics. So that's why you can make that criticism, right? I have no fucking idea what you're deriving your ethical system from, though. So can you please, is it just your preferences, like things that you think are bad because they're bad?
The way that I was raised, my family, the way I was taught on what.
Again, Brian Shapiro has no idea how to debate this way, and he obviously came into this debate ill prepared for Andrew, and this is a problem because, like I said, if you're going to step off the ledge, you got to be ready to fly, baby.
What's wrong and what's right. The way I was taught at a very young age to not judge people based on their skin color or sexuality, to treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Okay, so your whole ethical system is just Brian's preferences.
I don't think it's just Brian's preferences.
Well, whose other preferences are you basing it on?
I would like to believe that most people in society, more than 50%, would agree that it's not an ethically standard good thing to do to say and do the things that Donald Trump does on a regular basis. Now,
so you believe that ethics are derived from the majority?
Not necessarily. I think everybody's different. I think everyone's raised differently. I think everybody comes from a different background, different religion.
So which ethical system are you using then, other than Brian's own ethics? If they don't come from the majority, and they're not, hang on. Let me ask the question. If they don't come from the majority, they don't come from other people, they come from you. How do you make these value judgments? What's the system that you're using to say thing bad, other than because just Brian thinks thing bad?
For argument's sake, so that we could move the conversation along, because we've now been talking about this for 15 minutes. I will make it matters. No, the thing that matters is Donald Trump's behavior and how you defend it, and we'll get into it. I will make it very easy for you, Andrew.
Okay.
This is me. You're talking to Brian Shapiro.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have.
Look at how matter of fact he was. I'm going to make it very simple for you, Andrew. This is me. So just all he had to say was my ethical values come from me. I am the final arbiter of my ethical beliefs.
Certain standards in a certain way that I vote. I'm sure some people agree with me. Some people disagree with me. I would imagine you disagree. I vote, number one, not on policy, on the human being. Are they a decent human being? By my standards, I'll make it easier for you. I don't want to support somebody who is a bad human being. By my definition, I won't use anybody else's definition.
So your ethics come from your own, from you. You're the ultimate arbiter of what is ethical.
I'm not. That's my opinion. Okay, and what I think.
Then what is this system for ethics here? So if you say all of these things are bad because I think all of them are bad, I can accept that. You saying you're the ultimate arbiter of what is ethical, I can at least accept that. But if you're trying to make it appeal to something else, and that's what your ethics are grounded.
I want you to drop in the chat if you think that Brian Shapiro understands the words that Andrew is saying. So I think there might be a problem here from definitions of Brian not understanding what Andrew is saying. And instead of saying to Andrew, I don't understand those words, or could you explain it in a different way, he tries to go along with it like he understands, but he really doesn't. And I think that happens sometimes with some people's vocabulary is much larger than another person's. And I'm not saying that makes you dumb or smart. I'm just saying some people have a larger vocabulary than you do. And sometimes some of the words they use you don't understand. So you need to slow them down and say, can you explain that to me? Because if you don't, you continue to go along with this, you continue to look more and more stupid.
Pounded in, then I need to know that.
I'm not trying to make it appeal to something
Then
else.
you are the ultimate arbiter of what is ethical, right?
And if that makes it sufficient for you, Andrew, to continue this conversation, then I'm fine with that.
Okay, so do you agree that you're the ultimate arbiter of what's ethical?
These are my opinions on what I think are ethical. You might think cheating on a wife and having sex with a porn star 2 weeks after Melania has a baby, there's nothing wrong with that.
See, instead of addressing the argument, he starts doing his shotgun points. You know, like having sex with a porn star, blah blah blah. Instead of addressing what Andrew's arguments are, this is what causes debates to just spiral.
I think that's unethical.
That's not my question, though. We can get to those things. I'm just asking you, is Brian Shapiro, when you make an ethics claim, it's based solely on Brian Shapiro's opinion. And because it's based on your opinion, that is what is ethical.
I think it's based on a lot of things. And like I said, I am not a religious person. I don't live my life. So then your morality, the subjective morality comes from your own personal preferences, right? Okay, but there are a lot of things that I do believe in that are wrong, that are stated as wrong in the Bible.
You believe. So you again are the ultimate arbiter of what is moral or is not immoral.
A lot of my beliefs are maybe not the same as your beliefs or others. I'm not.
So what makes yours right other than you believe them?
Well, we can go into that. I think I think a lot of people would say that, it's not ethical to steal. I think you.
Well, you see how you just said a lot of people.
Hey, this would be a good time for you to press that like button for me. All right, let's go.
So what you did now is you're making an appeal to a majority again, hang on, Brian. I'm going to explain this to you. You once again are making an appeal to a majority. If you do that, you just say, well, if Donald Trump's approvals rating is above 51%, then you're being unethical. And obviously that's not what you mean here. Yeah. So you can't make appeals to other, you can't make appeals to other people and say the majority is where you get your ethics, because it's not. So are you, Brian, the ultimate arbiter of what is ethical or not? Or can you give me a standard outside of yourself that you use for ethics?
In this specific conversation, these are my opinions, my beliefs. There is no system that I use. People can agree and disagree.
So for the purpose of the conversation, you're the ultimate arbiter of what is ethical.
I'm responsible for what I say on this debate. Okay. These are my personal opinions, and I've been very clear on that. Nobody's
okay. So then why can't I just reject everything you say by just saying, no, I'm the ultimate arbiter of everything that's ethical?
We can disagree on that, and we can have a conversation on why you feel the way you feel and why I feel the way I feel.
So you have no standard for ethics other than you?
I have a standard for ethics that I was taught at a very young age that I believe in. I would like to get to Donald Trump.
So your standard for ethics is you.
I mean,
Andrew, right?
If that pleases you, Andrew, we can fine. That's fine. And in order to move along the conversation, because quite frankly, Andrew, I think this is stupid. I want to talk.
I'm sure you do. You don't have any basis or grounding to make criticisms outside of yourself.
I have a lot of basis that I would like to get into with you. I would like to talk about Donald Trump. I would like to talk about his behavior. And I could give two craps what system you think I use or what I don't use. I want to know how you can support a man who attacks Gold Star families, a man who attacks POWs, a man who's...
This is what he does on his radio show. He starts to fire off these points just like this. But he's not aware that this is not going to work with Andrew.
In a $1 billion crypto scandal. I want to know how you wear that Christian cross around your neck and support this guy who is the ultimate sinner, who lies on a daily basis, who literally, in my personal opinion, along with Pete Hegseth, are committing murders. Okay. I want to know, as a Christian man, how you can support a guy who's cheated on every single woman he's ever been with.
I want to know. And I want to know, Brian. Okay, hang on. That's fair.
No, hold on. I'm not done yet.
You're going to keep shotgunning? You're going to keep shotgunning?
Hold on a second. You did a 10-minute monologue. The least you could do is let me finish.
I didn't do a 10-minute monologue.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
I want to know what your system is where you think it's okay to support a man who's a liable sexual abuser, a 34-count felon, and a guy that literally hurls second-grade insults at journalists, which you defended on the Piers Morgan show. Now, I really don't care what your ethical standard is. I want to know you personally, how you can continue to curl yourself into the MAGA right-wing pretzel that you do every single day and hide behind your religion. I want to know how you can do that. So why don't
Okay, so Andrew's about to lower the boom on Brian Shapiro, and it's epic. So pay attention.
you answer my
I was
question?
just trying to get all this cleared up a second ago, but you
So
seem
please
to
answer my
refuse.
question. Please
From
answer.
what standard can you say any of this support that I do is unethical? What
I mean,
standard?
Andrew, this isn't going to be much of a debate if you're not going to answer my question. So
I
please
am
answer
answering your question. You don't have any standard from which to criticize anything I support. You have no standard to do this.
Why don't you respond to my question?
I am
What-
responding to your question. You
You
have
said
no
you
standard. You have no standard from which to make a criticism. You have no ethical standards from
this is
which
how
to
you
make a
debate.
criticism.
This is how you debate. You charge people $250. I didn't want this to go down this route because I want to have a respectful debate with you, Andrew, and I do appreciate you doing this. But I'd like to have a real debate with you.
This
okay?
is a real debate.
Okay. So far,
I'm making
it's
you
not-
justify your position, Brian. That's
Okay.
what a real debate is.
I want to know, do you have a problem? It's a question I'm asking you, but you haven't answered any of my questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you have a problem with the leader of the free world, Donald Trump, attacking Gold Star family, saying he doesn't respect John McCain because he was captured? Let's just focus on John McCain for a moment. That one statement, which I think should have disqualified him as president to begin with. Are you okay with a man running for president attacking a POW, saying you don't respect him because he was captured? I tend to respect people that were captured, that weren't captured. Are you okay with that?
Well, when you say okay here, you're asking about an ethical claim. So you're asking, Andrew, do you think that this is moral or immoral when he does this? What we have not clarified is what moral or immoral is other than a Brian value judgment. So if you're just asking me, hang on. So if you're just asking me based on value judgments of preference, do you have any issues with X thing? Then I could just always say, no, you have no standard from which to criticize this. Do you understand that?
I do understand what you're doing here. I do. I'm asking you as a human being, which I'm pretty sure you are, how you are okay with, or maybe you're not willing to admit it. Are you okay with someone in power or somebody that is running for president that would attack somebody for being a POW for 5 years, regardless of what your opinions might be on John McCain?
Yeah. So let's say I have an issue. So let's say I have an issue with almost everything Trump has ever done or said out loud.
Okay, so here it is. This is the boom right here. This Andrew is about to drop it all over Brian. Let's check it out.
From my ethical purview, what could be more important to a Christian ethicist than the topic of abortion? From our view, from our world, hang on, from our worldview, that is the most important issue. We actually think that you're killing human beings, right? That's hang on, Brian. Listen, I'm going to answer your question. I'm answering it. You just have to listen, and then you'll understand. It wouldn't even matter if I had an issue with almost everything Trump has ever said out loud. That wouldn't even be an issue. If it is the case that you can name anything which would trump, from my worldview, 600,000 children getting murdered yearly, because from my worldview, that's what we believe. That's my ethical system believes that. What can you name, Brian, that Trump has done which is worse than killing 600,000 children per year, and why it would be that I should support an oppositional candidate if I only have two choices, which wants to expand that? Do you have one thing that you can name that would trump that or not?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to end it here, but that is the boom. he just nuked Brian with that statement right there. Basically, as a Christian, and if your Christian ethics, if your Christian ethics define to you that abortion is murder, then stopping 600,000 murders a year to you is worth a whole lot more than anything Trump has ever said. Now, I guess the rest of this video, Brian goes on to talk about all the other stuff, the um, civil conviction, the 34 felonies, cheating on his wife, food stamps, all that other stuff. But again, that stuff pales in comparison to a Christian and abortion, right? He's trying to get Brian to understand this, but Brian can't get it through his head of someone feeling that strongly about something. So he came into this debate unprepared, and Andrew just basically broke him down and humiliated him in front of everybody. Now, maybe Brian can go back into his war chest, figure out exactly what he needs to do if he ever wants to come back and face Andrew. He needs to do that if he ever wants to face anybody who's can debate, because obviously Brian has poor debate practice, and he needs practice, and he needs a coach. He needs something if he's going to continue to jump into these battles. Again, thank you for hanging out on my channel. Thanks for watching this video. I will link this entire debate down into my into the description. So if you want to check out the entire debate, it will be there for you.